Hi, my name is Halima Al-Hatimi and I am a medical cannabis user. I use medical cannabis to treat various ailments including post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, as well as social anxiety disorder. I also use cannabis to treat a painful inflammatory condition known as endometriosis. I also suffer from chronic pain from injuries sustained from multiple motor vehicle accidents, and I use cannabis to help treat this pain. The reason why I am doing this video is because I would like to inform the public of a case that I have against the United Nations as well as McMaster University at the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. Some of this case was captured by CBC News as well as Hamilton Spectator and Cable 14. However, there are multiple parts to this case that have not been published by the media. And so I'm using this platform to inform the public. Now, in February 2017, I was a student in McMaster University's public health program. I was also a student in a joint diploma program that McMaster University has with the United Nations University Institute of Water, Environment, and Health. The program is called the Water Without Borders program. One of the prerequisites of this program was attending an international water security research trip to Ghana to assess the water security situation in Ghana. A day before I was scheduled to go on the trip, on February 17, 2017, McMaster University barred me from attending the trip. They accused me of wanting to take my medical cannabis with me illegally across international borders. Even though I asked them for a policy months in advance, I signed a declaration of health status, and I also signed an incredibly humiliating, incriminating, and derogatory affidavit that they coerced me to sign in order to attend my trip. Even after fulfilling all of these requirements and also presenting them with proof that I had an alternate medication plan, they still barred me from going. As a result, I filed a complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario against McMaster University as well as the United Nations University Institute of Water, Environment, and Health for discrimination against multiple grounds, including disability, the intervention and the intervention I used to treat it, race, gender, and age. I have been fighting McMaster University and the United Nations at the Human Rights Tribunal for the past 18 months, and it has been extremely grueling. In fact, the United Nations University Institute of Water, Environment, and Health had the Attorney General of Canada send a certificate on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Canada, claiming that they had absolute immunity from all legal proceedings, as stated in Articles 104 and 105 of the United Nations Charter. I argued that Articles 104 and 105 of the United Nations Charter do not apply to this case because this is not a local legal proceeding. This is a fight for the international human rights of medical cannabis users. I argued that while I was a student at their university, they listed my medication, cannabis, as an illicit drug. This is a form of systemic discrimination and systemic criminalization. Now, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario heeded these arguments as I stated multiple violations of the Conventions on the Persons of Rights with Disabilities as well as the United Nations Charter. They heeded these arguments and scheduled a hearing for March 29, 2019 for my case to be adjudicated before an independent tribunal. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video today is because I would like to inform the public of this case, as well as inform everyone of a form of peaceful protest that I will be engaging in between now and the day that the hearing is scheduled. I will be participating in a cannabis fast. What this means is that I will not be taking my medication between now and the day of the hearing, and I will try my absolute best not to take it. The reason why I am doing this is because I would like to stand in solidarity with people all over the world today who cannot access cannabis for their medical conditions because the United Nations continues to classify cannabis as a Scheduled I drug in the Single Convention on Drugs of 1961, which was basically created to consolidate all previous drug treaties and drug conventions, and to also include cannabis as an illicit drug, meaning that it has been categorized along with drugs such as LSD, heroin, and cocaine. That is how they have classified my medication. And so for the next few months, I will not be taking my cannabis so that I can stand in solidarity with women like me who have endometriosis in countries like the United States, where they cannot access cannabis to help treat their endometriosis and help treat the excruciating pain and anxiety that comes with this condition, because cannabis is still listed as an illicit drug with the United Nations, as well as in various states in America where it's still considered legal. I'm doing this to stand in solidarity with people around the world who have post-traumatic stress disorder and cannot use cannabis to help treat their debilitating and violent flashbacks, because the United Nations continues to classify cannabis as a Scheduled I drug. I'm doing this in solidarity with people all over the world who have anxiety and depression, who cannot use cannabis, or who may be self-medicating with cannabis, or have self-medicated with cannabis in the past and are currently imprisoned because of it, because they were self-medicating conditions that were debilitating and impacting their ability to fully function in society. Now, the Single Convention on Drugs of 1961 basically states that it repeatedly affirms that the importance of medical use of controlled substance, the medical use of narcotic drugs, continues to be indispensable for the relief of pain and suffering, and that adequate provision must be made to ensure availability of narcotic drugs for such purposes. Yet, despite the fact that multiple parties, multiple member states and activists all over the world have urged the United Nations to declassify cannabis as an illicit drug, the United Nations has failed to take heed and has failed to fulfill their promises and their commitment and stay true to their own laws, stay true to their own conventions, their own charter, by decriminalizing cannabis to ensure that cannabis is accessible to people who need it for medicinal purposes. I am engaging in this peaceful form of protest because I would like to raise awareness of the real-life implications of the United Nations failing to declassify cannabis as a Scheduled I drug. The failure to declassify cannabis as a Schedule I drug means that medical cannabis users are continuously deprived of their international human rights to education on all levels of government, our international human rights to be employed and to be able to travel abroad for employment, our international human rights to access to healthcare and access to necessary medical treatment, and our international human rights to mobility, whether it's for mobility, travel, whether it's for employment, whether it's for education, whether it's for medical tourism, whether it's for leisure or to just visit family. It does compromise all of these rights, and we are consistently forced to choose between being able to take our medication or exercising our right to mobility or our right to education and employment if we are required to go abroad to do so. This is not fair. This is completely unjust, and it goes against everything the United Nations claim that they stand for. They claim to be an exemplar of human rights. They claim to be a pillar for human rights, and yet here they are failing to do their due diligence to ensure that people all over the world have access to cannabis if they need it. And for those medical cannabis users who are using cannabis in member states where cannabis is legal, is legal as a medicine, they're failing to ensure that we have full access to our human rights just like everyone else. And so I am hoping that by doing this, that we can understand the real life implications of this stigma that is associated with being a medical cannabis user. And I am hoping that together we can eliminate this stigma, because medical cannabis users are not criminals. We are not brutes, and we are not a menace to society. We are simply people who have medical conditions, and we are using cannabis to treat these medical conditions so that we can have the opportunity to fully participate in society just like everyone else. Now, if you would like to participate in this campaign, you can do so without even getting up off your couch. Simply subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow, click the little bell up front so that you can constantly have updates on my videos, because I will be producing videos on a daily basis. If not a video, a post, a written post, depending on how I feel, on my Facebook page, to update you guys and give you raw footage of what it's like for me not to have my cannabis. So please subscribe to my channel, like the videos, please comment if you feel compelled to, and please, 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 I urge you to share these videos so that we can continue to raise awareness of this very important issue and educate society on the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes. Thank you so much for your time today and for listening, and thank you so much for your continued support. Peace and blessings.